I had already filmed 5 minutes of this video until I realized I had lipstick smudged across my face. Hello everyone. I don't know exactly what this video is gonna be. I just know what I want to talk about, but I don't know if it's a discussion or a stream of consciousness. I don't know how to pronounce that word, but I know what you mean. But I hope you know what I mean. I might just kind of ramble about this topic. I don't know, I just kind of wanted to talk about it because it's something I've been thinking about for quite a long time. As most of you probably know, I have been in a reading slump for over a year at this point. And there are many different reasons for why I have been in a reading slump. Number one being my mental health. I've talked about this in a few videos and I talk about it on Twitter and Twitch all the time. My mental health got really bad in the summer of last year. And that's kind of when my reading slump started. I started reading less books. I also discovered an old hobby. I rediscovered an old hobby. I started painting a lot. So that's been taking up a lot of my time that I usually spent reading. So there have been many reasons for why I haven't been reading as much, even though I really, really want to. And that's another thing. I get these bursts of I really want to read something, and I'll find a book that sounds really interesting or that I hear a lot of great things about, and I'll start reading it, and after, I don't know, 10 pages or so, I'm like, I just can't get into it, or I'm not interested, or other things are more interesting, which is really frustrating because I really, really want to read. I mean, I have read books, but it takes me so much longer to finish books at the moment. With a few exceptions, which is what I will be talking about. I'm so out of breath already. That's not good. Yeah, so reading tastes is something I've been thinking about for the last few months because when I started BookTube and when I really got into when I started reading a lot of books because of BookTube, I used to read like, I don't know, 5 to 10 books a month, and so far, for the entirety of 2018, I have finished 23 books, which kind of makes me sad, but I'm also trying to not stress out about it because I am doing other things. I'm not wasting my time. I am painting a lot. I'm streaming on Twitch. Let me try and find my place in my thoughts. Yeah, so when I started reading a lot and when I started my BookTube channel, I had a very narrow, how do I explain this? I had my few genres of books that I liked to read, and I very, very rarely went outside of those genres, and those genres being mostly fantasy, some contemporary books, and like paranormal, but that I kind of count that as fantasy as well. So those were the main genres that I would read and that I enjoyed the most. Also, a lot of mainstream books that a lot of other people just read. And I just kind of stuck to those genres. At some point I started venturing out into new adult, a mystery or a thriller here and there, and I enjoyed those, but I was always very contained to the fantasy, contemporary genres. And it's not that I didn't want to read other books, but those just felt the most comfortable to me, and those were the ones that I always enjoyed. So I just kind of stuck to those. But throughout the last year, I've noticed that I haven't been reading a lot of fantasy books, even though a lot of fantasy books came out, and I have a lot of them on my shelf here, but I just don't gravitate towards those anymore. And I think part of the reason is they're kind of intimidating to me at the moment because of my reading slump. But I've also noticed that excuse me, my reading taste just changed. Out of the 23 books that I have read this year, 6 of those have been nonfiction. All of those in the last 2-3 months. I think so. I just closed Goodreads again. Especially recently, I've just been reading a lot more nonfiction books, which always kind of intimidated me, but at this point, I'm like searching out for nonfiction books. I never went to the nonfiction section in a bookstore, and now it's one of the first areas I look for books in. And I don't know if it's age or just my interests changing or whatever. I mean, I'm not 16 anymore, even though I might look like it. This year, I haven't read like a high fantasy book. I've wanted to. I've tried some, but I just can't get into them. And I don't know if I'm just not into fantasy right now, or if it's my reading slump, or if the books aren't good. I don't know. And I tried forcing myself to read some fantasy books, and I would force myself through books, and it would take me 2 weeks to read like 10% of a book. And by the time I got somewhat into the story, I'd already forgotten what happened in the beginning of a book. Why is my ear so red? That's weird. What kind of sparked this interest in nonfiction books for me was, let me get it. Leah Remini's Troublemaker, Surviving Hollywood and Scientology. I think I've talked about this as well, that I have this weird obsession with Scientology. I don't know why. I'm kind of fascinated by it, and not because I condone anything that happens in this church, but because it's so insane and so awful, and I don't know. It's a weird obsession of mine, and I've been watching her show, and then when I saw this book, I bought it. I read it a few weeks ago, and I read it in 2 days, which is the fastest I've read a book, I think, the entire year. And then after this, I kind of seeked out more nonfiction books that I was interested in. Or that kind of, I don't know, it just seems like something that I would enjoy or I wanted to learn more about. And I read another Scientology book. I think I talked about some of these in a video, I don't know, but I read another Scientology book, and I read, what was it? One of Shane Dawson's books. I read In Order to Live by Yeonmi Park, which was also very interesting to me. And I read one of Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's books. This one, The Feminist Manifesto in 15 Suggestions. Loved it. Absolutely amazing. And I have a bunch more nonfiction audiobooks and ebooks. I don't know if I have any here. I have a poetry book. That's also something I've been meaning to get into, some poetry books. Unfiltered by Lily Collins, who is someone that I really like. I think she's an amazing actress and just amazing human being, so I was interested in her book. I just want to learn more about people and certain topics. Bye. So that's been a nice discovery, seeing that my reading tastes have changed. And I'm not going to give up on, why is my ear so red? What the hell? Did I smear lipstick on my ear? Someone explain to me why my ear is so red. It's hot as well. Why is my ear so hot? I'm not giving up on fantasy. I am still reading contemporary. Like, that's another genre that I'm still kind of enjoying at the moment. If I'm not reading nonfiction, I'm reading contemporary. Although I am reading a fantasy book at the moment. I'm still reading The Night Circus, but I started that 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I'm still in the middle of it, so I'm not making great progress. I don't know if I was trying to make a point with this video. I just kind of wanted to talk about this topic, and I'd love to know if you guys deal with this thing. I don't want to call it an issue, because it's not a bad thing if your reading taste change. It's just weird to deal with, especially because I have all of these books, a lot of them fantasy and I don't even know what. I don't know what else to say. I hope I can make something out of this rambling mess, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Tell me down below what you think about this topic. I'd love to talk about it in the comments or on Twitter. And yeah, that was it for this video, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!